Hello again, and welcome to Faith, Family, and Politics. I'm your host, Joshua Cummins. And we're going to have
a really big show today.
That's our good friend Louis Rodriguez on recording there. Names are just showing up all over the screen. So
Magic.
be praying for Louis. He's dealing with a lot, and he needs your prayers. We won't get too far into the weeds on what's going on with him, but just know that he needs your prayers. This week, to the left of me, we've got the perfect producer. That's probably why names are popping up all over the screen, because Laura's out of practice. But she'll get there. She's just out of practice, folks, okay? But we have Sterling Metcalf Allen.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us, sir.
No problem, absolutely.
And across from him, we've got my much younger brother,
So young.
James Moore. Say hello.
Hello.
There you go. The audio listeners don't know you're here until you speak. Alan got a yeah out of you. I get a hello.
Brother James.
To be fair, he's probably running on very little sleep, so that's pretty regular. Now, bringing the message this week. Actually, before I talk about this special guest we got this week. We know that you're already here. Right, and you're already subscribed to us on YouTube and Facebook. You're following us, and you're subscribed to us on Rumble. Those are all places you can watch us on video, or you can download and listen to us anywhere you download your audio podcasts. Make sure that you are sharing, because sharing is caring. Make sure you make sure you hit that notification bell so you know when we're on. I mean, gee whiz, it'll pop right up on your phone or device, wherever you view or listen to us. And make sure you comment a lot, like all the comments. And I want to start. This is episode 75. I don't know if you guys know that or not. This is episode 75 this week.
Nice.
Milestone episode, I think. And so we're gonna start a new segment with that being said. We want to do prayer requests. So if you have a prayer request that you'd like to put out there for us, put it in the comments. And we'll make sure and put that on our list for next week. And hopefully, as long as the list isn't too long, we'll try to get to everybody. But everyone else will also see those comments so that they know to pray for you as well. So I just wanted to put that out there for episode 75 and be something that everyone could all pray for each other. Whether you're a fan of the show or not, and even if you're hate watching right now and you don't like us because of whatever, if you need prayer, put the prayer request in the comments. We will pray for you. All right. So we've had this very special guest this week. It's your third occasion here, right?
Third or fourth, I lost.
Yeah, I lost count too.
Somewhere around there.
I know. Well, I know we got your first time here, the Lion Chasers manifesto right over here.
Yeah.
On the wall. Which is kind of, it's hard to see if you're on a cell phone, but, anyhow, Richard Greenfield.
Hi.
I'm waiting for Laura to, there it goes. There's your name.
Okay.
Hi.
So fancy.
Yeah.
Fancy.
You even got
Multicolored.
gradient coloring in your name there. It's blue and
Nice.
white. Yeah.
No wonder she was getting
But
distracted.
with a name like Greenfield, I should be green, right? So I'm wearing green.
See, actually, my name is set in green.
Green
So,
light.
yeah.
Green light.
Just trying to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Keep you confused.
Yeah, that'll work. That'll work. That's not hard to do. Get me confused.
And since you are bringing the message this week, Richard, what's the title of that message you got for us this week? Go ahead and throw it up on the screen there, Laura.
Seeing God move. Yes, seeing God move. You want me to just go ahead and go into it?
Actually, if you wouldn't mind leading us in a prayer over the message
Sure.
before we go into it.
Sure. Lord Jesus, I ask that you be with us, and Father, that our ears can open and our minds absorb what you would have for us today. Father, thank you for all the listeners, and thank you for Josh who's bringing this. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Okay.
Oh, one more thing. For you audio listeners, if you're not viewing, you're missing out, because we also have in studio my dog Journey. She's cuddled up at the bottom here. We don't have a special camera for her just yet, but we will. And I'm sure that periodically she's going to get up and be in frame. So
Yeah, good.
sitting down on a very cute German Shepherd if you're only listening audio.
Yeah, she's chilling out at our feet right now. She's doing good.
All right.
All right, so you want me to get into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. gosh, in my life I've really been on a journey. Speaking of journeys, so there's some things that I wish the 63-year-old me could. Actually, I'm 64 now. Anyway,
Hey, like the Beatles.
The 64, yeah, that song's been ringing through my ears this year. But anyway, so there's things I wish the 64-year-old could go back and talk to the 24-year-old me and have a little discussion. But one of the things that I have been seeing lately is, of course, I brought to Josh the Line Chasers Manifesto, and one of the lines in there, and one of the lines on that, says, "Go after a dream that's destined to fail without divine intervention." And so, sometimes you just gotta take it for what it's worth. Instead of just reading it, you got to act on that. Mm-hmm. And back in October, around October 22nd or so of 2022, God sometimes will put things in your head. And in my head, he put the name John Olson. And John Olson was a guy that I went to church with in the Chicagoland area. And I don't think we've seen each other since 1995. I got the privilege of uniting him and his wife in marriage. And I just, where's John Olson at? And do you know how many John Olsons there are on Facebook? And is it S-O-N or S-E-N or something else, And so, and is it J-O-N, J-O-H-N? What is it? So finally, after about 3 different attempts, I finally texted or, instant message through Facebook this guy and thought, maybe, are you the guy I used to go to church with? And so he lit up my phone and he was doing a video call. And I saw these little motorcycles going zoom, zoom, zoom like this, and then saw these jitneys going by. And I go, "Where are you, man?" He goes, "I'm in the Philippines." And I go, "Oh, man, are you on vacation?" He goes, "No, I live here." He said, "My wife that you married me to, she passed away 7 years ago, and I was a truck driver. And my dispatcher was a Filipina." And he goes, "We fell in love, and I live in the Philippines."
Nice.
And I go, "That's amazing." And it amazes me how in just living my life right here in central Indiana that I have met people that are now living in other countries. One is in Sierra Leone. The other one's in Kenya right now. In fact, the car I drive right now it used to belong to a lady who now lives in Kenya. And so I've been to Costa Rica once. And then I met another guy from Myanmar, which used to be called Burma. And you've heard of the Chin people. Mm-hmm. And he's one of those. And he's wanting me to go to the Chin province and help out there. And so as I got to...
Wonderful people, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so as I started studying the Philippines, started studying the culture, this little tile pops up on the side of my computer screen. It said, Christian Filipina. Well, guys, I've been hating dating sites, okay? But I went ahead and bid on this one. And I found out they really have adult supervision. They say, "Are you okay? Do you see any scammers?" That kind of thing. Long story short, I met a lady that is actually feeding children on a mountainside. Now, these are people that they don't know where their next meal's coming from, and she and her brother, the brother drives one of these dinky little motorcycles up a rocky road, rutted road up a mountain while she's holding 50-pound bags of rice and hauls them up the mountain to feed the indigenous peoples that are up there. And so I'm learning a lot about those people. And the thing that really drives me is I see this little kid, he's holding a little coffee cup and he's just grinning from ear to ear. That's his cup of rice that he got for that day. And so he's thrilled to death. So I began to believe that possibly I need to go to the Philippines. Well, I told God about 50,000 reasons. I probably could have filled up a spiral notebook, college ruled 70 pages at least, single line spaced, of all the reasons why it's impossible for me to go to the Philippines. And then I looked at the Lion Chasers Manifesto, go after a dream that's destined to fail without divine intervention. I go, there's one. There's one right there. And so what I did was I finally stopped for a second and I said, okay, God, if it's your will, it's your bill. And then I began to remember Bible verses like from Genesis. In Genesis, I think 18, when Sarah is told that she's going to have a baby in her old age, she talks about how impossible that is. And the phrase comes out, is there anything too hard for the Lord? It's interesting that happened again in Matthew, similar circumstance, Mary Magdalene. Mother of Jesus, is there anything too hard for the Lord? And that phrase actually repeats multiple times throughout the Bible. I think it's even in Joshua. I think it's in a couple other places in the Bible. And I thought to myself, is there anything too hard for the Lord? And so when I said, Lord, if it's your will, it's your bill, I felt myself leave the driver's seat of my life and slide over to the passenger side. And so I said, okay, Lord, if this is really you, then let this unfold in front of me.
Yeah.
Now, as a real estate agent, what I do is I live very small. My car costs $4,000. Okay, it's paid for. My house costs less than $700 a month. Okay, I don't need to live large. I don't need the Cadillac, the Lamborghini, the Jaguar, the Bentley. I don't need all that stuff. Okay, what I want to do is as I sell real estate and I make extra money, I want to use that for the mission field. Now, it's interesting that I mentioned to you all that 5 different countries, didn't I? And I always wear, right here on my lapel, I always wear a starfish. And the starfish comes from the parable of the starfish thrower. The starfish story goes something like this. A man once lived on a beach. The tide had come in really high one night and went out really low, stranding hundreds of thousands of starfish on the shore. And as he looked out his window, he could see somebody throwing something into the surf. And as he got closer to this guy, he realized this guy's throwing starfish back in the water. And so he got up on him and he said, dude, what are you doing? He goes, I'm throwing starfish back in the water. And he goes, do you think you're going to make a difference? And he reached down and picked up a starfish, threw it in the water, and said, I made a difference to that one. So that became my mantra, is to make a difference to that one. And in my business, in my life, I want to make a difference to that one. I can't make a difference to everybody, but I can make a difference to you.
Yeah.
And one thing at a time. So ever since that happened, since October 22nd, my business has gone berserk. I mean, I feel blessed if I get 2 to 3 transactions a month. 2 weekends ago, I got 3 transactions in one weekend.
Wow.
And 3 more followed that in 2 weeks. So I have 6 pending transactions before August 15th hit. And I'm feeling blessed if I get 1 or 2 in a month. That's a blessing. So then another thing really weird happened too is I was on a team, and I was on the Scott Smith team, and our database has its own little quirky things about it. And as a team member, I need to drink the team Kool-Aid. I get that. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, but what I found out is through the logistics of the database, I would lose some functionality if I switched all my contacts up to the team. And I spent a lot of hours organizing that database, and I didn't want to lose that functionality. So finally, I was tapped on the shoulder, not once, twice, but a third time hit. By the time the third time hit, I knew what I had to do. And so I said, okay, I'm coming off of the team, and I'm going to stay with Keller Williams, but I'm just going to become a solo agent. And so then I had to figure out, okay, what am I going to call myself? And so I call myself the Starfish Mission Group. So when anybody that's in my group, which right now it's just me and 3 cats. So and anybody that joins my group is going to be committed to doing mission work, and taking their extra that God provides, and fulfilling the dream of missions. And so in the process of doing all this, the lady that,
by the way, that could be you.
Yeah,
You can join.
yeah, absolutely, because we're always looking for agents, so we need agents bad. So so anyway, as a process of doing that and getting to know this lady that's already doing what I want to do, there's some things going on between us that's a little bit more than missions work. So my goal is by the end of the year,
You both like chess, or?
Yeah, we both like chess.
Nice.
So we talk to each other twice a day. And what's interesting is the Philippines is exactly 12 hours off from us. So right now it is going on 8 o'clock here in the States, p.m. Well, it's going on 8 a.m. tomorrow there. Okay, so.
Which is coincidentally, here in the States, 8 a.m. is when this will probably drop.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So anyway, so it's Saturday and it's the weekend, so she's probably going to head up the mountain to feed the kids again and feed these elderly people. And it just amazes me. Now, here's the whole point that I was wanting to make. I mean, here is the bottom line. First off, I'm going to give a disclaimer. The disclaimer I have is that there are a lot of great Christian people in my vicinity, people I go to church with every day, They read their Bibles. They believe what it says. They go to church. They volunteer at church. They give of their time. They give of their resources. They give of their money. And they're great people. Don't get me wrong. And I know I'm going to see them in heaven.
Yeah.
But one of the things I realized is I was one of those people too. Okay. But I never really saw God move. Okay. So when you do a challenge like go after a dream that's destined to fail without divine intervention, it's that intervention in our lives that we do not see. Now, I'm not judging these people, but a lot of church people just don't take it to that level. So let me give you an example of this. In the Lord's Prayer, there's a line in there that says, "Give us this day our daily bread."
Yeah.
Now, Josh, I don't know about you, but I've got a thing that's in my hip pocket. It's called a wallet, and I can run over to Kroger over there at Thompson and Emerson, and I can probably buy 100 loaves of bread, probably more, 100 loaves of bread, and feed myself until I founder. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do thank God for the ability and resources to do that. But I didn't really see God move. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I kind of like those resources were from my own strength, I guess. Maybe not, but you see what I'm driving at.
Yeah.
Okay. But when you're in a place like the Philippines or Costa Rica and you're with indigenous peoples and they pray, "Give us this day our daily bread," they haven't got a clue where that next meal is going to come from. They really don't know. And if God doesn't provide it, it's not going to happen. But when you see God provide it, that means that's when God gets real. So in my life, it may sound like it's all easy and feather pillows and pink fluffy unicorns and clouds and things like that. It's not, because I've seen things happen in my business that I have never seen happen before. I had one buyer who was had such buyer's remorse. He canceled his transaction not once, but 4 times.
Wow.
4 times. The 4th time he canceled, he actually paid a penalty to get out of the transaction. That's how nervous he was.
Wow.
Okay. So the next day was the day we were originally supposed to close. We had what's called a signed mutual release, and the seller of the house that he was buying actually came in and picked up the earnest money because it belonged to him, because my buyer backed out for no good reason, plus about $2,000 of penalty money.
Wow.
Okay. So about $4 or $5 grand went into the pocket of the seller. The seller picked up his check and took off. At 9:30, this guy's in my office saying, "I've made a horrible mistake. Help me." And I said, "Sir, all I can tell you is you need to be like a firefighter. Go back home, keep your clothes on, keep the motor running on your car, and I'll see what I can do." We went from purchase agreement at 9:30 a.m. to closed at 3:30 p.m. that day.
Whoa.
You cannot do that in real estate. I don't know if you know how complicated a real estate transaction is and how many yeses there has to be. It's worse than mission control.
I mean, you helped Laura and I with this one. It didn't go that quick.
Yeah, I mean, when you watch these Apollo things or Apollo 13, you see mission control and they go, "Fido, go, go.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing in real estate. There's so many people that have to flip a green light before you can close a transaction. And to have that happen, that was a miracle. I saw God move in that particular case. The transactions were, guys, I don't get 3 pended transactions in one weekend. That just doesn't happen, but God made it happen. Okay. I've had some past due bills. I've got those all paid off. My next mortgage payment is due November the 1st. So, and I'm going to try to fix it so my next mortgage payment's not due till March 1st of 2024. Okay. So that way, cause when realtors go through the winter, it gets a little slower. Okay. Yeah. And the holidays and everything else. But anyway, so what I'm doing is I'm preparing for my overage to go to the Philippines. So I just contacted, the other thing too is, again, I'm not bragging. I'm not trying to say anything.
You can brag on God.
Yeah, I'm going to brag on God, but it's kind of
say glory to God.
Yeah, glory to God. But it's going to kind of, okay, I'll just say it. Yep. Okay, so I'm a guy that, I'm struggling as a real estate agent. I live paycheck to paycheck. Okay, and I forgot. I'm going to come back around to something else. One of the things that happened is that database that we were using, it lost that functionality. When I went to be a solo agent, it also changed how much commission I get paid, which increased my commission by about 30 to 40% per transaction.
Ooh, yeah.
So if not,
Big change.
yeah, if not a little bit more. So basically I got a raise, okay, plus more transactions. Okay. So praise God for that. Guys, I have never, I think in my entire adult life, seen 5 digits in my checking account.
I know I never have.
Well, that's where I'm at right now. That's where I'm at right now. And so, and all the bills are paid ahead. And I'm like, I can now, I contacted the travel agent to get to the Philippines. And so we're planning the itinerary. I want to be gone 3 to 4 weeks. Going to visit my buddy John. And then I've got 2 missions I want to visit in the far south in the Philippines. So it's going to happen. So back to my point. Go after a dream that's destined to fail without divine intervention. So many of us Christians, and God love us, and you're my brothers, you're my sisters. I'm not judging. I'm just saying there is another level you can go to. Step out into the unknown. Step out into something that can't happen on paper. Okay. Yeah. But God will make it happen. And you begin to see God move. And I'm beginning to see God move every single day. Things happen. I can see it. And that's when God becomes real. One of the reasons why I think so many people fall away from the church is because they've never experienced the reality of God in their lives. They've never had to. They've provided for themselves. Give us this day our daily bread. Well, where do you want to go? Arby's?
Right.
You know, and we just do it like that, not even thinking about it. Okay, or no, let's just stay home. And we open up the pantry and it's full. You know, or there's Napoli's down the street there. I mean, we can go get ourselves a big old juicy pizza or something. You know, or we're kind of trying to figure out what do we want to eat, not if we're going to eat.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a big difference between what we're going to eat versus if we eat. Okay. And so I want to go to these people, and I am so passionate about it. When I start to get tired or I start to get weary, I think of that little kid holding his cup. You know, he had his cup of rice with a big old grin on his face. He looks really happy. Yeah. I want to meet that young man. And he looks like he's probably about 7 or 8 years old. I want to meet him. I want to meet him on the mountain in the Philippines. And so I encourage believers and Christians, go after that dream that is destined to fail without divine intervention. See God move in your life. Put him out there. Go out there and just go for the impossible. Just go ahead, take your notebook out like I did and write down all the reasons why you can't do that. Okay?
Yeah.
But, I sensed the Lord. There was many other inputs. I could tell you why the Philippines, I focused on it. But there was multiple inputs from multiple locations, and it kept repeating the Philippines. It kept coming right back to the same thing, the Philippines. And so now I've got 2 things. I've got missions. There's another missions there that does medical missions. So I'm going to do some of the medical mission work. I'm going to do the feeding of the people on the mountainside. And then my buddy's pastor is wanting help growing his church. So I'll probably do all 3 of those things. I never dreamed about meeting somebody special in my life along the process, but that might be happening too.
You know, it puts 2 things into my mind. You talking about that? One reminds me of something Pastor Greg Locke. I don't know if you know that guy's name or not, but he says you can't outgive God.
Mm-mm.
Everything you said, like all of those things. It's layers of you keep trying to give and you keep receiving, and you're giving more. And you're receiving, you can't outgive God.
You can't
outgive God. And then the other thing that comes to my mind is my good friend Joseph. He's from the Philippines, him and his wife. As a matter of fact, his wife just got back from a visit to the Philippines.
There you go.
They're from Cebu, which is the biggest
province. I know exactly where
yeah.
Cebu is.
Yeah. So
I've been studying the geography and the culture. You know, like when Laura was doing the countdown, she's doing 5, 4, how you do it, Laura? You hit 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, right? In the Philippines, when you count 1 to 5 on your hand, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. In the Philippines, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, like if you want to know where something is, like Journey's down there on the rug,
Yeah.
you say, "Where's Journey?" You'll point like that. You'll point. That's what we do. And for the Philippines, this is rude, very rude.
Yeah.
So you point with your lips, like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so all kinds of
It's also the way they peel apples.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah.
We push out, and then they pull towards.
Yeah.
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 It's cultural differences there, but I'll have to get you hooked in with my good friend Joseph, because he's been talking about outreach in the Philippines for a very long time, and he has the means to help maybe even expand what you've got going on.
Cebu is a resort area. It's very, very popular. It's right in the middle.
It's very westernized portion of the Philippines. They have a massive mall there, actually. If you look up the
Hear that,
island,
Laura?
if you look up the island of Cebu, one of these days I'm going to go visit, because it's a beautiful
very
place.
cheap there too.
Yeah. The thing I want to definitely try, regardless of the mall or visiting the people, is I gotta try some of those mangoes, those fresh mangoes.
Oh, they just grow on the trees. Just you
Yeah.
have one. So talking about very cheap. It's a 55 Filipino pesos to $1 American, but the peso spends almost like $1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So-
I literally have a buddy at work who's dating a lady in the Philippines. He just came back from there, going back beginning of next year for 3 weeks.
Yep.
And she's actually going to, because he just opened a store over there. Of course, it's a liquor store.
Yep.
It's the only one in the neighborhood. It's doing quite well. And she's actually purchasing for him while he's there a month out of the brand new apartments they just built.
Yeah.
And it's like, so he's been staying at like these nice hotels, resorts kind of deal. It's cost him like 4,000 or 5,000 pesos.
Yeah.
But this apartment,
And divide that by 55.
it's like $158 or something like that.
Yeah.
Or something, it's something crazy here, and you're like, you can't even spend the night at a hotel that way here.
Yeah.
So
To give you an idea, if you are in retirement and you retire on Social Security and you're pulling about $2,500 to $3,000 a month, you will live like a king, because a 1-bedroom apartment with a kitchen, living room, dining room is $300 a month. There. If you want surf and turf, a nice juicy steak with a lobster tail, about $8 to $10. So
Yeah, well, and also they have throughout most of the Philippines, they have squatters' rights. So if you can find a piece of land where no one actually currently has a residence, you can actually squat there and become the owner of it over time.
I mean, I tell you,
only if you're Filipino.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
Here's the crazy thing: like if I go to the
there are
Philippines-
loopholes to that too.
Yeah, if I go to the Philippines and I buy a house, I bought the house. I didn't buy the land, because a Filipino or Filipina has to own the land, and you lease it. You lease it, so you own the structure, but they own the land. But the only way I could actually own the structure and the land is to marry a Filipina and have her die of natural causes. So then I would own both.
yeah, I remember the guy showed me a house there that was probably, if it was here, it'd probably be worth over millions of dollars.
Oh yeah.
He said the guy spent $30,000, $40,000 and built this 5-bedroom, 4-bathroom home. It was just absolutely gorgeous. The whole video of his house, gorgeous as all get out.
Yep.
And it was like something you'd find in L.A.
Right.
And he built it cheap, and it looked absolutely stunning.
Yep. And believe it or not, in Manila, there's a Keller Williams office.
I believe it.
And don't think I'm not tempted.
Well, I'll tell you this, not to rush your relationship with the lady too far along, but from my understanding, that most women there are raised traditional, very traditional, which is so much different from your modern American woman. This is not a dig at you, Laura, at all. Okay, so just make sure that I'm prefacing that, so I don't end up having to sleep in the guest room tonight. But a lot of American women, they're not traditional anymore. They've stepped away from that due to like these several steps of feminism that are out there today and other things. But the idea of what is in the Bible of the husband and wife and them being complementary, that is taught to the Filipino women, but here in the States, that a lot of women, as I said, I'm not pointing out anybody particular out there or anything like that, but a lot of them have stepped away from that. So
they're very family oriented.
Very family oriented.
There is no divorce in the Philippines. It's very, very rare that there is divorce. They do have annulments, but that's very hard to get an
Yeah.
annulment. One of the things about, and I hope I'm being kind, okay, but one of the things in America is I think we believed a lie, okay, that men need to be more feminine,
Yeah.
and women need to be more masculine.
That's
okay?
what our good friend Danny Tippett would call truth exchange for a lie.
Yeah, and so what I believe has happened is over a process of time, we have lost our ability to bond with each other, and there's not a codependent. I don't like codependent. I don't like dependent, but I like interdependent. The way I see it is when God created Adam and Eve, and this is something that's very interesting. Here's a fine point that I don't know if you've ever thought about. Is what was the name of the female when she was created?
Oh, so he
In Genesis.
he said I will call her woman because she's
Exactly.
yeah.
It wasn't Eve. Okay. So what does woman mean? It literally means creature taken from dirt creature. What does Adam mean? It literally means dirt creature.
Yeah.
Okay. So dirt creature and creature taken from dirt creature. That's what they were called. Okay. When Adam went before all the animals before she came along, God brought him there and he named them and took dominion over them. Okay. So he took leadership. He took rulership over the animals. Okay. So when Adam and Eve were made, I believe that God took his best attributes and put half of those into the man and the other half into the woman. So when you see a man and a woman together, united in marriage, you're looking at a complete image of what God looks like. And I think that's what we need to celebrate. That's what we need to emphasize. And it's interesting to me that after the fall,
Yeah.
what did Adam do? He looked at her and named her Eve, which means he took dominion over her.
Yeah.
And that's a fallen state. That is not the way God created it to be. That is not. So man never should take dominion over his wife. He should never do that. He has the attributes of God, the warrior, the hunter-gatherer, in him. The alluring, the beautiful, the captivating is in the woman. And I think together we complement that and we become interdependent.
Complementary.
Yeah. There's certain things that
the one makes up for what the other one lacks.
Exactly. So how many wheels does a bicycle have? 2?
Yeah, otherwise it'd be called a tricycle, and those are weird.
Yeah, or a unicycle.
Oh,
but anyway, so I think they work together like gears in 2 cogs like this. Both are necessary, both are needed, but yet they're different.
Mm-hmm.
They're different. And so anyway, so that's my opinion on it. So the original plan that God had was that both would be honored, both would be accepted for what God made them to be. And I think that in the Philippines, they are still there. They're still there. And it's amazing to me that I have interviewed and talked to several Caucasian versus Filipino marriages. And it's amazing to me how attentive, how incredibly in tune, how intertwined that a Caucasian man is with his Filipino wife. And she literally makes him better. And so I would think that if we just would embrace what God made us to be, whatever that is, and embrace that in our complementary person on the other side of the marriage,
yeah.
then I think that we could love and appreciate what we can't do and what we can do, as opposed to what they can do that we can't do.
Yeah, I agree with all that.
And so really a marriage is 3 persons. It's the man, the woman, and the Holy Spirit. So there you go.
Because that's the glue, right? The Holy
That's
Spirit. Yeah.
Well, isn't it interesting in Ecclesiastes where it talks about where 1 can, 2 can, where 1 can, 2 can, where 1 can, 2 can. Then it says at the bottom of that, a cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. Where did the third one come in? It's God. It's God. You wrap three cords together and it's not easily broken. And one of those strands is God. The other one's the man. The other one's the woman. and it's just a beautiful picture of how complementary, and how interdependent we can become on each other.
I think it's a beautiful thing. Actually, Laura and I just this week we started based on her suggestion, but she had me headed up. Started a Bible study with each other on marriage in particular, and that just going on that subject because we both feel like we got a pretty good marriage. But it was like, well, no, she wanted to say, well, how can we make this even stronger? And I'm like, okay, I'm down. Let's do this. And so the very first plan we looked up was what does God think of marriage? What does He say about marriage? And so like just those first few verses in, I was like, he's very serious about marriage.
Yes.
And the word is used. It's a covenant.
Yep. There's one more thing, Josh, I want to talk about too. As you go out on your adventure, and this is something that I think you can almost expect it. I don't think the Bible doesn't promise it. But I can tell you it's going to come. You're going to get opposition.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Back in January of 23, it was a really freaky warm day, and it was blowing and thunder and lightning and all this other stuff. And I was running across the grass up to my car, and there's no way I wasn't going to get wet. So I could have walked and probably been just as drenched. Okay. But I ran, and my foot slipped out from under me, and I tore muscle in my leg and tendons in my knee. And I still am struggling with it. But it put me on the couch for like 3 or 4 weeks. I'm like, okay, Lord, if it's your will, it's your bill. This thing here is not helpful right now. But these things do happen. I
remember calling and checking in on you a couple times. Yeah.
2 weeks ago, you don't know this, but 2 weeks ago on Tuesday, I went to the hospital. I, for the life of me, could not control my blood pressure. I took not 1, but 2, but 3 blood pressure pills, and it wasn't touching it.
Wow.
And when I got to the hospital, I posted a 250 over 110 after taking 3 doses of blood pressure medicine. Okay. And still don't know what caused that, but the doctor was more concerned about the fact that I took 3 pills than she was concerned about my blood pressure. But my blood pressure kept staying steady between 130 and 150. So she let me go, and she goes, stay on your blood pressure medicine. Don't take extra. And so I've been doing that. But, that was a scary thing. I mean, that was life-threatening. That's stroke zone. And so I couldn't believe when I saw the machine. She goes, oh, yeah, your blood pressure is a little high, isn't it? And I go, not a little, it's a lot high.
Been there.
Yeah.
But there'll be some scary things that happen. When you venture out, it's not all like pink fluffy unicorns and candy cotton clouds, It is scary sometimes, and you will go through some scary events. I mean, things will happen. There will be dangers, but again, it's another chance for God to show up, and you get to see Him move.
Yeah.
So,
I get to see Him move every time that this show successfully gets to recording.
Yep.
And goes up.
See, there you go. There you go.
No matter how much I have to fight Facebook.
So when the lion roars, as in the Lion Chasers Manifesto, don't run away from the lion, chase it. Chase the lion. Grab opportunity. Here's another line from the Lion Chasers Manifesto. Grab opportunity by the mane and don't let go. Grab opportunity by the mane and don't let go. It's kind of like holding a tiger by the tail. If you let go, you're in trouble. So you can't let go once you grab a tiger by the tail. And I'll tell you something. It is a whole different life. Things do not bother you that used to bother me, because God's got this. Lord's got this. Whatever. Yeah. Lord's got this. But it's interesting too. I like to watch things that happen based on true stories. One of those is the world's fastest Indian. Okay, this guy broke the world speed records at Bonneville Salt Flats on a motorcycle. But on his way there, he had several heart attacks.
Wow.
Okay. So you look at another one is a movie called Bottle Shock, and it's a story of the Chateau Montelena winery. And they were just about absolutely bankrupt and had so much money that they owed way up above their head, and it looked like the whole thing had just failed. And in the last second, it all turns around. Okay. So, think of things like Apollo 13. There is no
Yeah.
way those astronauts should have made it back alive.
Yeah.
No way. No way. But they did.
Even watching the movie, just to like,
Keeps you-
yeah.
And I just got done watching 13 Days, which is about the Cuban Missile Crisis and how close we came, to
So close.
yeah, and just all these things where you see God's intervention. But as you take this journey, I'm telling you, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be scary. It's going to scare the ever-living Pewaddle out of you, okay? It will. But this is the thing. Again, yet another opportunity for God to show up. I walked in here without my cane. I walked in here on my own two legs. Now, it's still weak. I still have to be careful.
Yeah.
But slowly but surely, it's getting better. And I'm hoping that it gets good enough where I can walk up the mountain.
It will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I fully believe God's going to fully heal your leg and,
Yep.
and allow you to not just walk up that mountain, but jog up that mountain.
Yep. There you go. There you
Yeah.
go. So
Maybe not sprint. There's no spring chickens in this room. Maybe
no,
Sterling. But
he's got a runner body. I don't. So, but anyway, sorry it took so much of the time, but
no, we're
but-
good. Like it's like this is something that happens sometimes on the show where we have a crossover between both faith and family happening in that where are we at on time, Laura? Okay,
Yeah,
so
see.
so we're good to about 9 more minutes we could actually spend on what would be a family portion, because
okay.
another thing, like as far as like watching God move, like we talked about when James was on here last, a very large adversity that he went through, actually thinking he was pretty sure he was in heaven a couple times,
Oh wow, yeah,
and
that'll
then
do it.
and he's here.
Yeah,
I have my brother.
right there.
Yeah, and I get to call my brother, and I get to text him, and I get to say, "Good morning, sunshine." I know that probably drives him crazy when I say that to him.
Yeah, only at work.
And the guys go, "Who's that?"
Yeah. But I love my brother very much, and he's here, and we prayed a lot, because I didn't get to say this when he was on here last, but it was really tough, because for 3 days he was in a coma. 3 days. And it's you see your younger brother there with the ventilator in, and you're going,
Yikes.
yeah, okay, I need you to move. I'm counting on you.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, your will be done, but please bring him back. Please give me my brother. I want that chance to talk to him again and see him again. And even if he doesn't want to talk to me, maybe when he comes out of this, maybe he just wants to just give him that chance to be with his wife and love his daughter and be with them every day. And there,
Amen.
like the third day, Sunday, because he
So
was
something about 3 days, right?
yeah, something about it. And yeah,
The Bible says our life is nothing more than a vapor. And what are we going to do with the life that God gave us? What are we going to leave behind? There's an old song, Ray Boltz used to sing it, called Thank You. And so when the guy goes to heaven, he's like, well, what's my reward? He goes, turn around, look behind you. And here's all of these people that because of the kindness of his heart came to Christ and are in heaven because of things that he did. And he goes, for great is your reward. There they are. And, it's like, okay, what's heaven look like? Streets of gold, alabaster cities, bejeweled. That doesn't impress me, guys. It doesn't. What impresses me is first off, that I made it. Secondly is, can I bring somebody with me? Can I make a difference to that one? Can I take the one starfish and throw it back in the water and make a difference to that one? I can't make a difference to 100,000 starfish. I can try, but I don't think it's going to happen, but I can pick up one at a time, throw it back in the surf, make a difference to that one, make a difference to that one, make a difference to that one.
it's heavy, man. No, James, you got anything to add on that onto that?
Nope.
No.
Just knowing that 2 weeks out from being hospitalized, it's still a struggle.
Is that 2 weeks ago? That was recently.
Yeah, literally,
Whoa.
yeah.
Well, I'm with you too, Journey.
Yeah,
I get you.
It's been a struggle, but every day's better.
Amen.
Coming from barely not walking the day one to where I'm back to work, pretty much normal life.
You know, the other thing too, I'm going to change subject, but I'm going to come back to that. One of the things that I found interesting is I've gotten where I've gotten today because of the help of my friends and the people I know. And here's usually how it goes is like, I'm not asking my friends to give me $30 a month to support your favorite missionary, although I'm a missionary disguised as a real estate agent. So all I say is just give me a referral, and that's free. So, somebody wants to buy, sell, or invest in real estate or even become an agent, that helps too quite a bit. And the people I'm so thankful for have come out of the woodwork. I mean, there's a thing that we could do called lead gen, and I call it love generation because all I'm supposed to do is call up people and love on them. That's all I'm supposed to do. And that usually leads to a conversation now and again that has to do with real estate. And so I haven't done that since October, and I'm supposed to be doing that. But yet people are so loving on me so much and loving the vision for what I have, my big why, that happens. And God love you, man. I mean, to come back from the brink of death like that, dude, that's amazing. That's amazing. So what that tells me more than anything else is that God has a plan for you. Okay, and it ain't over yet. Mm-hmm. Because I realize too that when God's plan with me, when He's done with me, He's done. Come home. Why would He make me suffer on this earth any longer? When He's done, He's done. So I'm gonna go home. Okay, but until then, I'm gonna chase lions. Sometimes I'll tell you what, it makes you feel young when you're 64 and you're chasing lions. You feel like you're 20 because you and God are a majority, and there's nothing you can't do together. So yeah, God's got a plan for you. I can't wait to see how that comes out.
Yeah.
What about you, Sterling? We kind of quiet over here today. Deep in your thoughts?
Yeah, usually. That's usually what I do. Like, when you're talking about like medical stuff and being on a ventilator, the first thing that obviously popped into my head was my dad. Like, oh, you're praying for a miracle and everything's like, yeah, I prayed for a miracle and it didn't work. Our quote unquote, our plan didn't work. So, yeah, I don't know. That's what I've been thinking about over here. It's like, well, what was the purpose? What did I go through again to be okay with that, him passing away, and it just brought up a whole bunch of feelings.
Yeah.
There's a plan behind it. Just got to figure out what it is. Again.
My dad went through the same thing. He died in 2020 in January, and that in March is when the whole world shut down. And we couldn't figure out where that pneumonia came from that he had.
And I met his dad. His dad's awesome. His dad was awesome. I loved him, man. He's fiery.
Yeah, he was spunky.
We went to
spunky.
Was it that? What was it? For the local. He was trying to be governor, or not governor, but mayor here in Beech Grove. He came down and for the last just before the last election, and we was all meeting up for the local guy that was running for the GOP ticket here in Beech Grove, and
Dad's Republican.
Me and him was connecting real quick. Yeah, he was
spunky.
He's fiery. He was ready. He's like, I'll tell you, I'm gonna vote Republican. I'm gonna get down there. I'm gonna vote often.
Well, here's the one thing that, Dad loved people. So it's kind of
that was evident.
He would have like 2 or 3 Republican signs in there, and there was one Democratic guy he liked. And so he was running for district councilman. And so Buddy, you know who Buddy is?
Yeah.
Okay. So he'd always put Buddy sign amongst his Republican signs. He was a man after the person, so that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Very good man. Very good people person.
Yeah.
I guess that's where you got it from, huh?
Yeah, I guess.
It's the same. No, it's just before we go into that politics portion, though. I mean, is there anything that you would like to unfold on that, or just more of trying to understand the adversity?
It would have been great to have him on here.
Yeah,
I think about that all the time.
Yeah,
tears me up inside. But
Well, he's living through you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it goes back to, I mean, in my mind, and it's like today's adversity is tomorrow's lesson. So whatever reason that happened, this is something that's going to not only teach you're teaching yourself a lesson of some kind. Because you've had several lessons that we've actually talked about. We went over layers of lessons actually that you went going through this. Yes, ogres have layers, but I think the ultimate lesson is still yet to be taught, and that's where when you get to pass on all those things that you've learned from one experience, all those adversities you went through beyond his passing, you get to pass those to someone else.
Yeah.
Someone else is going through
Same situation.
this kind of situation, and now you get to go, hey, actually, I'm here, and I've been through this, and
Light for somebody else.
yes.
Yep. Been down the path a little further.
And because you're able to pull back and look at the macro, because you've, I know that we've said that on previous episodes, but because you're able to pull back and look at the macro like God does, and let it be in His hands, it gives you a better picture of what someone's going through, as opposed to only focusing on the one issue.
What's right in front of you.
Yeah. You guys can talk amongst yourselves. I got to get my iPad going.
Yeah, he was a super, 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 super intelligent man. Like, I don't even know. He was just that. He had such a love for everything that it blew my mind. I mean, he started his own business. I don't know how many times. He got me into everything that I know, as far as like, the Bible and church and stuff like that, and then like fallen angels, and are there aliens, or are those fallen angels, and then like the giants, and all of that stuff.
Nephilim.
Nephilim, yeah. Conspiracy theories, and he just stacked it all up. So he built me up. I really did. I've got a lot of his. So yeah, I passed stuff on for sure.
So Josh, what's in the news?
What's in the news, Josh?
Well, there's some big, beautiful news stories this week. I tell you, they tell me all the time. People tell me, a lot of people tell me that there's big news.
The Trump's coming out.
It's huge.
I could see it in his lips. He even had the shape of the lips, right?
He's pointing.
So Trump's been in the news a lot this week. If you couldn't tell,
No.
I haven't seen
he's
it.
kind of everywhere, unless you've been living under a rock.
They just had a Biden story, so now they have to have a Trump story, and it goes back and forth.
Well, we've got 2 for 1 this week, because we got 2 Trump stories, and then we've got a Biden story tucked right there in the middle. So
what they got to do, they got to mix them up.
yeah. So coming from Breitbart this week, Twitter claims Donald Trump's counter debate interview with Tucker Carlson hits 90 million views in 3 hours. Now, just to give you kind of an update on that number, it was last I checked, it was over 300 million views.
Wow. 300 million?
Yeah, and that's not just interactions; that's views, because interactions are counted differently. So, yeah, so people are at least watching 5 minutes.
And where can we watch this?
So it's on. Well, it's currently called X, yes, but
X.
Formerly known as Twitter. So whichever one you want to call it, if you search for it on the App Store, whether you're on Apple or Android, you can find it underneath Twitter. It'll still pull up X, which is the same application. Just a new name. Thanks, Elon. Not. I don't like it. Anyway, so in lieu of attending the first Republican primary debate, former President Donald Trump released an interview with Tucker Carlson that was watched 90 million times in 3 hours, according to the view counter displayed on Twitter. By 12 a.m. Eastern Time, the video received more than 90 million views, according to the social media platform known as X. Trump campaign senior advisor Susie Wiles said the interview provided a clear contrast between President Trump engaging in a thoughtful policy discussion about what his second term will look like versus 90-second canned sound bites and platitudes from the debate stage. Fair enough, right? President Trump won this evening's Republican debate in dominating fashion. More people watched President Trump's interview with Tucker Carlson than the rest of the field on the debate stage combined. Well said.
One thing. Didn't we say that was going to happen?
Yes,
We
yes,
did.
that was
It's
that
like,
was
wouldn't
our,
it be funny if? I think is what we said.
that was our prediction, our big beautiful prediction.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful prediction.
They won't turn the cameras around. So.
They're fake news. What is clear after the dust settles, none of the other candidates looked ready to take on crooked Joe Biden. Only one leader can truly make America great again, and that's President Donald J. Trump, well said. In the interview, Trump called President Joe Biden a Manchurian candidate who was compromised by China. As Breitbart News reported, and he also has the distinction of being the most incompetent, and I believe both mean he's both incompetent and corrupt. So I actually believe he's compromised because China knows so much about him. They know where the money comes from. They know where it is, who paid it, and they probably paid it. He, in many ways, is a Manchurian candidate. We have a Manchurian candidate, and he's afraid to tell Russia to get out of Cuba. He's afraid to tell China to get out of. He's afraid to tell China to get out of Cuba. He's afraid. China is now building. Think of this. China's building military installations in Cuba. The Cuban population of Miami is not too happy, I tell you, because they're never going to be able to go back, and you don't even hear about it. Trump said, identifying the media as the worst culprit, because the mainstream media is to blame for a lot of what's going on with people that's not understanding what's really going on with Biden. Trump also said that the American people are smart and know the various indictments against him are Bologna. That's the version I'm going to go with. He just said a different word, but we're going to go with Bologna. Now, obviously, we had this really cool, nice interview that was on X from Tucker Carlson with President Trump. Alternatively, you could have watched the GOP debates with the rest of the candidates that are running for president on that side of the ticket. And there were out of the candidates, there was a very clear winner of those candidates, and it's Nikki Haley.
Mm.
If you're watching CNN, that's what you would have heard. You would have heard Nikki Haley was the very clear pick of the candidates. That was obviously not who would have stood out. If there was anybody that actually stood out, it would have been a young man named Vivek Ramaswamy.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen this guy talk, guys?
I think
I've seen small clips of it.
Yeah.
His parents came over here from India, and this guy, he's on it, man. He's smart. He's got a silver tongue. He's America first. It was like having a little bit of Trump there without Trump being there, because Trump would have probably also took a few digs at anybody there. I mean, if he would have looked at Mike Pence, he would have probably called him Judas. But
Mike Pence called who was that? Santos a rookie?
yeah,
We don't need a rookie coming in.
DeSantis. We got Ron DeSantis over here. That's his grades in schools,
So
folks.
that's coming from the guy who can't bump gas.
Oh, Pence, yeah. Mike
a
Pence
rookie at pumping gas.
can't bump gas. He might as well have the smoke alarm beeping going on behind him. Beep.
That was the greatest thing I'd seen. Was him calling him a rookie. We don't need a rookie coming here doing this. I'm like, dude, you can't pump gas.
And all Chris Christie could do was complain about Trump. And I was like, just eat another sandwich, okay? Like you don't belong here.
Your debate's over when all you can do is complain about the other person.
Yeah. But Vivek, he was the only one to call climate change agenda a hoax.
Mm-hmm.
He was the only one on this whole stage. All the rest of them said that climate change was real. They were in behind it. And they were fully behind on trying to fight it. And I'm like, fight what? The earth does what it's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
God made it that way. How arrogant are we if we think that we're actually going to affect what God has done, right?
They're reaching for those votes.
Yeah. And so Vivek was like, nope, that's all a hoax. That's a hoax. He was the only one also to say right away. He was the first one to raise his hand to say that he would pardon President Trump if he were to be convicted of any of these crimes, knowing that he was not actually guilty.
I think the interesting question too is, and they've not answered this yet, if Trump does become president, can he pardon himself?
All with the exception of the Georgia case,
Yeah.
where he coincidentally had his fingerprints and
Yeah.
mugshot, and we'll get to that particular story here in a few. But yeah, but with the other cases, he could potentially, because a lot of these trials will happen probably around March or start around March and probably all drag on through
The election.
But all that's going to do is bolster his numbers even more,
Right.
because it's going to put him in the media even more. So I think it'll probably be a landslide. But anyway, when he does take
exposure's free advertising.
yeah, he could potentially get put in jail, prison, win the election, because there's no laws against him still winning the presidential
That's right.
election,
That's right.
pardon himself. I mean, the coworker of mine earlier today, we both joking, like, what would happen? Like, Secret Service is going to be confused. What do we do? How do we?
Well, the mob boys ran their operation out of jail.
It'd be like the scene in Goodfellas where he's just like cutting
Yeah.
his garlic razor thin. Yeah.
Yeah. The trick is cut it razor thin.
Yeah. And I can imagine that Trump would be like, yeah, the trick is you cut it razor thin, folks, okay? You just look at this, it's razor thin.
I just learned this right here in prison.
But for my new buddy Carlos over here, and yeah, he could pardon himself and get out. And he'd be the first president first president to ever get a mugshot, that's for sure. Again, we'll get to that story in a minute, because there has been well, does anybody else have anything to add on the fact that Trump had a really good interview with Tucker, or the debates?
No,
Okay.
I'm good.
All right. So as we all know, Maui has been facing some hard times. There was some massive wildfires break out there, and it's actually happening in different places across the globe right now. But this was the biggest devastation that we've seen in recent time.
Kind of surprising too, because I've talked to people before where they've got an in-ground pool in their backyard, and all of a sudden they hear this wop, 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 like, and they see this giant bucket going down into their swimming pool to pick up water to dump on a fire. And, you can do that. Okay. And so what I found interesting is that there's water everywhere around Maui. And I didn't know if they just didn't have the equipment or.
It was political red tape.
Really?
The mayor of Maui said, he told the fire chiefs, you'll have to ask the farmers first whether or not you can divert that water.
Oh my goodness.
And he said in an older interview, now this is not connected, but in an older interview, he said that water was to be revered, not used as a tool. And I'm like,
How about human
Huh?
life?
Yeah.
How about human life?
human life is way more important than a few gallons of water, and we'll get water back. It's the earth. It's covered in a lot of it.
Yeah.
It's like 70%, I think. So once again, the arrogance of man knows no bounds. There was one house that actually went untouched, believe it or not. In the midst of all those fires, this guy actually treated his home, put on tiles for a roof, and he treated his entire lawn was all treated. Everything was treated with this whatever he used.
Fire retardant, some sort.
Yeah. But everything, even the trees that was in his backyard, everything burnt all the way around his house. But his house and his driveway, even his automobile, all untouched, and fire all the way around.
Oh wow. I'd like to know what he did.
Right. And I think BlackRock couldn't be madder, because they wanted to be able to buy that land up on the cheap like they're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not going to sell. He knew it was coming.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, going into having to do with Maui, our second story tonight, coming from the Post Millennial, names of Maui's 1,000 plus missing to be released by FBI later this week. Joe Biden did finally go visit there. He was booed by many of the residents there.
Really?
And given the finger by multiple people.
Yeah,
Wow.
including people that were standing on the stage with him.
Really?
Yep.
Ooh.
The total number of people missing in Maui has increased to over 1,000 as a result of fires tearing through the island, with a death count of 115 and rising. I'm going to assume that's going to go a lot higher. the names of the missing will be released this week. So it's, as we go into the new week, we'll start seeing some of these names. The fires to hit Maui were the deadliest blaze of the last century in the United States. Crews have searched everywhere in the destruction to find those that are missing. 1 in 4 children are likely missing from school as classes resume. Could you imagine going back to school, being a kid, and 1 in 4 of your classmates is just not there?
Mm.
Could you imagine being a parent, knowing that yours was the 1 in 4?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, horrible.
FBI investigators have compiled a list of names of missing of those missing as the total increased to 1,110 and will be releasing the names later this week. Investigators are still trying to verify and account for all those who went missing during the devastation, according to the Daily Mail.
They say the fire just moved so fast.
It was caused by lightning, last I heard.
Yeah.
Which sounds
That can happen.
a little fishy to me. But that might be for another whole other show, actually. But of those that are missing, Hawaii officials do not have any estimate of how many of them are presumed to be dead. Only 104 family DNA samples have been gathered in order to identify the remains of their family members, the New York Times reports. Julie French, president of ANDE, the company in charge of the DNA gathering process, said having the DNA of relatives is a critical step in order to make an identification of the victims in the fire. Nearly 3/4 of remains that have been tested for DNA thus far have generated searchable DNA results, French added. It has been complex trying to find remnants of those missing, as often the remains of those lost have been made into rubble and only chips of bones are found. President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden arrived on the island on Monday after first making a stop at Lake Tahoe in Nevada. He was greeted with chants and protesting residents telling him that he was too late. Far too late, if you're asking me. This is nearly 2 weeks after, right? President Biden gave a speech in which he compared the devastating fires in Maui to a small kitchen fire that he had one time in his home. His family was removed from their home for half a year, and he joked, "I almost lost my wife, my 67 Corvette, and my cat." All kidding aside, I watched the firefighters, the way they respond. There's an old expression, God made man, and then he made a few firefighters. While attending a meeting with Maui survivors, Biden also appeared to fall asleep in the middle of an event. Just respectful. This man, I just don't think he knows where he's at half the time to begin with. But these poor folks going through what devastation they're going through.
It interests me, Josh, that when the hurricane hit Florida, approximately $3.5 million showed up in less than 24 hours. Do you know where from?
Where?
Keller Williams Cares. And it took FEMA 2 more days to get any resources there whatsoever. And we had it there in less than 24 hours.
We haven't seen
Government bureaucracy.
We haven't seen a mess up like this since Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah.
During the Bush administration.
Right.
And even then, although those they were problematic, there were trailers.
Yeah.
There were people going and rescue. I mean, there were people going out from FEMA and other entities, Red Cross and all that, going out and trying to help.
Yeah, the other problem here is that
there was no help in Maui.
If something happens in Louisiana, Pennsylvania, Indianapolis, wherever it happens to happen, if it's in the continental United States, the other states are connected and right there. You get on the interstate and you go. The problem is with Maui, it's out in the middle of nowhere.
It's an island.
Yeah. It's out in the middle. Hawaii, the state of Hawaii is an island out in the middle of the Pacific. How it's impossible to get there. You would have to be able to help those people. You would have to have something very similar to an invasionary force in World War II. You'd have to have the boats that can drop a gate and a tank rolls off. You have to have something like that before you can help them.
And there was another absolutely awful misstep by the local government there.
Mm-hmm.
They have a siren system. Now that siren system is supposed to be used to tell people to get away from the water.
Tsunami.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, follow me on this, and I think that this probably stands true. They said they didn't want to put out the siren because they didn't want people to run towards the flame.
Well, dude,
But-
my phone, it goes off all the time for
Yeah.
like Amber Alerts,
Right.
and
Why couldn't they have done something like that?
and everybody
for sure.
standing near has that. So why can you do like an Amber Alert and say, "Hey, fire imminent, coming, move, get out of here"?
But not only that, but if the speaker system can make a siren, certainly you can just change it to
Voice.
get on there,
Yeah.
PA, and say, run to the water
Yeah. Run now.
now.
Run now.
Find cover. Fire is burning up the island. Get to, and they had minutes. They
Yeah.
just had minutes. But those minutes were very critical, and someone could have gotten onto that speaker system.
Yep.
I'm a firm believer in that. Now, I don't know.
Or fly
But I
a helicopter
assume-
over with a loudspeaker.
Yeah. Because we have the sirens go off here, every Friday at 11 o'clock.
You know,
Right.
it's interesting, Josh, how
I know that's a speaker system.
But yeah, here's something too that I found interesting. When I was living in Aurora, Illinois, there was this air raid siren, okay, that was across the street. And it was a big horn that would turn 360 degrees. I didn't realize how big that horn was because it looked like a giant, like 55-gallon drum.
Mhm.
But then it had another circle on the inside of it until workers were working on it. And there was a guy standing up on the rim, and his head did not hit the inner circle. So that the distance between the two circles was at least 8 feet. Okay.
Wow.
And that's how big this sucker was. This sucker is probably every bit of 30 feet across. Okay. And this thing would just turn. Well, I lived across the street from this thing. And every Friday at 11 o'clock, it would literally rattle the windows. Okay. But I'm an old Boy Scouter. So, when the siren goes off and means take cover, you hear a very long woo like that. Okay. But there is one of the things that I would learn as a Boy Scout is if it's Friday and it's 11 o'clock and you hear that, it still means take cover. Because if we were under attack, when would be the best time to attack? Friday at 11.
Yeah.
Okay. So what they would do is behind that, they would do what's called the all clear. And the all clear is woo, like that. So you wouldn't hear the all clear. So I called. Okay. I called the local civil defense office and I said, "Hey, I got a question for you." They go, "What's that?" And I said, "I live across the street."
Yes, Journey. Yes, Journey.
Yeah, I live across the street from an air raid siren, and I hear it give the take cover signal, but I never hear the all clear. And they go, "Oh, I was so sorry I said that because the next Friday I had double the blast because I had the take cover blast and then the all clear blast comes on." And I'm like, I shouldn't have said a word. But my point is this, is that sometimes we get lackadaisical about these warnings. And even if that had happened, I can see people thinking like, what the heck? What's going on? And not even paying attention to it.
Yeah.
So I can see that, but yeah, I think a little more due diligence about getting the warnings out. Yeah, perhaps, but it's what happens next that I think is really the important part. How are we going to get resources to a land that's our land that's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean? I mean, do you know how many hours it takes to fly to Hawaii?
a long time. It's a long time. I know that.
Well, Biden didn't know it was our land.
No.
He didn't know it was part of the United States.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, anyway, neither here nor there. Like to go to the Philippines, it's 16 to 32 hours of travel time.
Yeah, I think my buddy told me it's a 20-hour flight.
Yeah.
And he boards like 3 different planes to get
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. So one of the trips I looked at is I would fly from Indianapolis to New York LaGuardia or New Jersey, Teterboro. Then I would fly to Japan or Korea
Mm-hmm.
and then to Manila.
Yep.
So I'd be going this way, this way, this way. So Hawaii is not really a whole lot different. I mean, it's at least a 4 or 5 hour flight. How much can you get on an airplane? How many resources can you get on an airplane? I mean, they've got some big airplanes. You can land some stuff in there, but that's
They still have to have those big planes. They still have to have a place to land them too.
Yeah, and so that tells me that you've only got so many resources, and boy, that's all you got. That's all you got. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not an expert in that, but it's like you say, it's what happens next. I think what really, if I were president of the United States, I think what I would have done is I would have just done something very, very similar to an invasionary force. You know, I would have had the Navy out there, the Air Force, the Marines. You're going to do a landing, basically, and you're going to hit the beach as if there was an enemy there, and you're going to go help those people.
Yeah.
And, you know, what a great way to do an exercise and practice and, you know, land all these vehicles, land resources, land water, you know, crates and crates of water, whatever else they need.
A great way for the branches to work together. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I would have called in, you know, the Air Force, Navy, Marines, and Coast Guard, you know, call them all in, you know, and hospital ships. There should be hospital ships stationed right off of, I mean, I don't know exactly the geography, but Pearl Harbor is not that far away. And I would think that, you know, that there's a...
Yeah, well, our largest counter-terrorist unit for our military is in Hawaii.
See, well, there you go. So I would have called in all those resources, and that's what I don't understand. Why did that not happen? Why isn't that happening? I mean, we called in the National Guard for Hurricane Karina, right?
Yeah.
I mean, let's call in the National Guard and so let's do it. Let's do an invasionary force and invade Maui for the help of the people that are there.
Yeah.
And instead of carrying guns, we carry bandages, whatever.
We need to do something. Absolutely, we need to do something. And once again, you're seeing how Biden just keeps dropping the ball.
Is Hawaii in the United States?
I kind of feel like there's a secondary objective. There's always a secondary objective, it feels like.
Yeah, well, and like I said, that there is a whole other show for it, but that I believe that there were nefarious things at play to have caused that storm. I personally, this is getting into the conspiracy theory, if you want to call it that. I think that there were things at play that caused that storm to happen, that caused those wildfires, so that land could be bought on the cheap. Because there's video of a lot of high power people, particularly in BlackRock and other associated companies, who said that they wanted to make Maui the first completely autonomous island ran by AI.
Oh, that's amazing.
So 2019. How long ago was that? Not long ago. Not long enough ago for them to have been able to bury it, and now those videos are out there.
Are they calling it Skynet or something?
Right. And so. That's what leads, and BlackRock is currently going through and buying up a lot of this land on the cheap, and associated companies. So that's what leads me to believe that there had to have been something associated with that. It's just way too
coincidental,
right in your face.
Convenient.
What was it? In that the best way to hide something is right underneath their nose,
in plain sight. Yeah.
Plain sight. That's right.
And what does every government say? Take every opportunity to take advantage of a crisis.
Yep. Yep, they sure do.
I'd be curious about that guy whose house wasn't touched, if he was a believer or not.
I don't know, but I'm going to guess he was.
Be pretty cool.
Yeah. I'll have to find out. That'd be really great to find out. Things that we won't find out for a while is what's going to happen with the current president, or the former president of the United States. Hopefully the next president of the United States. Coming from the New York Post this week, Trump surrenders in Georgia election case, his fourth booking of 2023. You've never seen indictments on a president before. Atlanta.
It could have been Nixon. Could have been, but he was forgiven pretty quick.
Well, he cried on national television, so yeah. Another day, another surrender. Former President Donald Trump was booked at the Fulton County Jail Thursday evening on charges of unlawfully trying to overturn Georgia's 2020 election results. Trump, 77, spent approximately 20 minutes at the correctional facility where he was processed and his mugshot was taken, making him the first former commander-in-chief to receive such an indignity. The 45th president was then whisked back to Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, where he addressed reporters on the tarmac. "We did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong, and everybody knows it. What they're doing is election interference and trying to interfere with an election. There's never been anything like it in our country before. This is their way of campaigning. We did nothing wrong at all, and we have every single right to challenge an election that we think is dishonest and we think is very dishonest." Now, Trump then took off for Newark Liberty International Airport after spending approximately 90 minutes in the battleground state. Hours after Trump flew down to Georgia from his Bedminster, New Jersey golf club, his supporters and opponents began gathering outside the facility northwest to downtown Atlanta, hoping to catch a glimpse of the quadruple indicted real estate mogul. "Trump has shown his criminality," said Nadine Saylor, 58, of Waldorf, Maryland, who wore a tiara proclaiming membership of the Fannie Willis Fan Club, a reference to Fulton County's district attorney. He doesn't pay his vendors. He doesn't pay his lawyers, Sealer went on. He has been trying to steal the votes of black and brown people, so I am offended by that. I feel it necessary to show up here and let these people who are being brainwashed know that Trump is a criminal. We have seen it. We have heard it. However, supporters of the 45th president far outnumbered his critics outside the jail. "I think these indictments are a witch hunt, a political opposition to try to silence your political opponent and make the other side think that he is criminal," said Marcia, a 60-year-old real estate investor from Marietta, Georgia, who arrived with a friend at 7:30. "And I want to show him that his base is still here. We're loyal, and I'm going to support him through all of this." Trump and 18 others were indicted August 14th on charges including violating the Peach State's anti-racketeering law. Thursday marked the fourth time this year that the 45th president has been required to surrender to face criminal charges, but the Atlanta jail was first to take Trump's mugshot. Trump has also been indicted for allegedly hoarding national security information at this is called the Boxes hoax. He calls it the Boxes hoax. Information at the Mar-a-Lago estate, attempting to overturn his 2020 loss to Joe Biden on a federal level, and falsifying business records to conceal hush money payments to adult star Stormy Daniels. Unlike on earlier occasions in Manhattan, Miami, and Washington, Trump did not make an initial court appearance Thursday night. He didn't need to be there. It was pretty much, it was going to go the way it was going to go regardless. I was happy to see that the judge didn't throw out the bond, because that could have happened. As soon as Trump landed, the judge could have said, "We're going to throw out the bond," lay down the gavel, and he would have had to actually go to jail right then, without conviction, and then his trial would have had to wait until whenever it's set for.
Well, that would have been unprecedented too.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, when we let murderers out on bond, I mean,
yeah. And if you don't think that this is politically motivated, I'm going to tell you right now, you're about to find out you're very wrong. You're about to find out you're very, very wrong. And I'll tell you why. The House Oversight Committee ran by Representative Jim Jordan. We love him over there. He's a superstar in Washington for the conservative movement. But he is heading up this Oversight Committee. They're actually requiring this DA in Georgia to turn over all documents showing and during the entirety of her career, anytime she's ever mentioned Donald Trump, just mentioned him. So that means that they're going to find out whether or not she really does just do her job, or if this is her disdain for him, which is pretty noticeable when you see her on camera. There's a disdain for crimes as a DA, and then there's a disdain for an individual. And obviously, her Trump derangement syndrome goes pretty deep. And they're going to find that, and they're going to be able to exploit it pretty easily. And I'm just going to say that real quick, that you're going to find out that if you don't think it's politically motivated, you're going to find out you're wrong very, very quickly. And if you have anything to say about that, leave it in the comments. Comment, because we want to hear your view on this. We want to see what you think about these indictments. I tell you what, I think that mugshot was pretty cool. Honestly, I think it makes him look tough.
Yep,
like an outlaw.
No, I don't think it made him look like an outlaw. I think it made him look
in a good way,
very determined.
I think in a good way, like a Jesse James or
It reminded me of looking at a bald eagle. You know how they kind of have that eyebrow thing that kind of makes him look real intense.
Yeah,
he looked like the American bald eagle right there.
I was just thinking, of all those, those folk heroes that we had in our in American history that were, seen as outlaws, but they were actually good guys.
Mm-hmm.
And they would be on wanted posters all across the country, but they actually we had. If we look back on it, actual history, we'll look back on it and find out that they're actually the good guys fighting the good fight. And I think it's exactly what's happening with former President Donald Trump.
Yeah. Lincoln was in trouble legally, too, when he was president. So we can maybe look at our history and see that there were other people.
So know that we're not doomed to repeat it, hopefully.
Right.
Or make it even worse now, because there's never been a president put in jail. Anything else to add on this?
I think Journey wants to add something, but I can't figure out what it is.
Yeah, she's just she's been part of the pod today. She's been actively helping everybody feel better. She's coming over and getting love.
I think you should put a cordless mic on her.
Oh Lord! All people would hear was heavy breathing from a dog.
What worries me about the whole thing is once again, I think it's just all cover for something else that they're trying to hide behind the scenes.
Sure.
So just forcing that into the news, into the media, into everybody's face when we're missing out on what's more important behind all of it. So,
well, it could be that because they're trying to hide everything that Biden's doing, right? Because Biden is actually the one that's guilty of all the things that they're saying that Trump is doing. Exactly, Journey. That's right.
Well, the other thing too is like when you think of an illusionist, okay, and sleight of hand, they're getting your attention to look at something else they want you to see, so they can get away with something that you're not looking at.
Mm-hmm. Which is what currently. Well, the other thing that's currently happening is that it could be them buying up all that land in Maui.
Yeah,
I think that people are not paying attention to that now because they're like, yes, the former president went to jail, and that is unprecedented. He'll be fine. I fully believe that he'll be our next president. But those people that are buying up that land right now, they're gonna go try to move forward with this awful thing called a 2030 agenda. If you don't believe me, you can look it up. You think I'm being Alex Jones right now, but I'm telling you right now, that's where this is going.
Tell us what a 2030 agenda is.
We only have less than 4 minutes here to really talk about it, so it take a while. But if you don't believe me, you can use your favorite search engine, look at it for yourself.
Okay.
We'll look at the World Economic Forum, look at Klaus Schwab, George Soros. Let's see here, where else? I mean, a lot of people will call it the deep state, but there's more layers to this than there is anything else.
I agree with that.
And this 2030 agenda has been planned by the World Economic Forum for a very long time. As a matter of fact, they had a video come out as early as 2010, I think it was. They said that you will own nothing and be happy. You will eat bugs and be happy. Isn't that something? That they have been
grasshoppers.
Yum. Yeah. So and there'll be no more actual meat to purchase. Like you can't purchase actual meat. It's all going to be manufactured. It's already happening. As a fellow named Bill Gates. Pretty sure you've heard that name before.
Somewhere.
Usually associated with computers. and this man owns almost 70% of all farmland in the United States, and they're manufacturing meat
Oh yeah,
in a lab.
I've seen that.
And
Chicken so far.
currently, the FDA requires lab-grown meat label to be put on lab-grown meat. But that'll change once they start deciding that that's
Sounds like Soylent Green.
yeah.
Remember that old movie?
Yes, I do.
Mhm.
There's another thing for you guys to look up if you haven't.
Soylent.
Yeah.
Charlton Heston was in that movie,
Yeah.
and Ernest Borgnine.
But they've been planning, and when I say they, I mean World Economic Forum. They're a big portion of that. And it's like Klaus Schwab, the head of that, his son and his daughter. Even if you were to get, like, let's say that Klaus Schwab were to die tomorrow, his son and daughter will pick up that scepter tomorrow and they'll run with it. They know the agenda. They're all behind it, and that will just keep going. This is the largest satanic cult in the world. The World Economic Forum is. They can call me a liar. They can call me what they will. They can call me a conspiracy theorist. But this is actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
This actually exists out there, and we need to put God back on the move, like you said. We need to see him move. We need to have more shows like this, more things out there, encouraging people that they can come to Christ, that they can find their peace in God, that they can move forward with their life and not have to worry about these evil people. God's going to get his vengeance on them. The Jesus Revolution is coming. It's going to be the largest Jesus Revolution. I'm telling you right now, today, the Jesus Revolution is coming. It's going to be the biggest Jesus Revolution this world has ever had. It's biblical. It's going to happen. We're on our way to it.
You know something else, Josh? It just occurred to me. It is one thing to be, what do I want to say, reactive to something that happens to you, and you put your faith in God and you see him move. It's something else when you're the active one and you've trained yourself to see God move because you've put something out there. You've gone after that dream, the Cessna fail without divine intervention. But what had occurred to me is that if you keep doing that, that trains you to battle for right when adversity comes. You're already a trained army instead of a people that are asleep. Like, what was it that Admiral Yamamoto said right after the attack on Pearl Harbor? I fear that we have awakened a sleeping giant.
Yeah, to put it in football terms, we get to be God's offensive line.
Yeah. Yeah, and so we need to be not on the defensive. We're not even really on the defensive. We're asleep. The church is asleep. They don't see God move. I mean, we, like I say, we do our thing. We go to church. We tithe our tithes and offerings. You know, the devil wants you in church every Sunday. He really does, and doing nothing. That's what he wants you to do. He wants you to be in church, feel like you're okay, and doing nothing.
Lukewarm.
Okay, yeah, lukewarm. And so, so when you get out there and you start challenging or whatever God calls you to do, because I believe that if your heart is still beating and you're still alive and you're still drawing a breath, God has a plan for you as an individual. Now, that may include taking part with other people, or maybe just a solo person, or like me, a starfish thrower. I just pick up one starfish and throw it back in. I'm by myself. Okay, fine. But whatever it is that God calls you to do, because I believe God has a calling for everyone. And like you say, our life is so short. Our life is just a vapor, man. I don't know if I'm going to walk out of here and walk into eternity or not, you know. But the bottom line is that until that time comes, until that angel comes and grabs my hand and says, "Let's go," then I'm going to do everything I can to bring as many people with me as I can. And so I think that's what we need to be after. We need to be a God's army that is out there conquering to win territory for the kingdom.
It kind of goes back to Moody, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know the story, Moody, the three preachers that went to him. You know that story?
Tell me.
So I might mess this up. So if I misquote, you can go ahead and comment, because I'm okay to be admonished on this one, because I don't have it memorized. But you know of Moody. He was a pastor. He won lots of souls to the Lord. And these three pastors, they came to him because they're like we're not winning souls like you are. What's the secret? He says, there is no secret. He says, I'll tell you what. Look out that window. They're on like the third floor of this building. Look out that window and tell me what you see. And I say, oh, the first preacher, he looks up there and says, oh, I see, people on their way to and from. Yeah. And the second preacher looks up there and he says, oh yeah, I see some pigeons out there and the wind blowing. And I can't remember quite what the third preacher says, but they all say something different as to what they see out there. Oh, he says, I see the sidewalk and I see, the buildings around. And Moody says, oh, well, when I look out there, I see lost souls.
Mm-hmm.
I see people that I need to lead to the Lord. Oh, there's no secret. It's just tell everybody you can.
Wake up. Wake up.
Get on that offensive line.
Wake up. And, one of the things is, whether, I'm not going to argue the point. Are we talking about something that's silly, doesn't exist, or does exist? It really is out there. That's not the point. The point is are we ready? Are we, when the Bible says, put on the full armor of God, there's some offensive weapons involved there too, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
The sword, the breastplate of righteousness. One of the things that's interesting about Israeli armor, which is what it's being described there is one piece of armor that's missing from the Israeli armor that the other countries have a piece of this armor. Do you know what it is?
No.
A back plate.
Hmm.
There is no back plate in Israeli armor because there is no retreat. There's only conquer.
Hmm.
So any other soldier that's retreating and turns and runs, he has a back plate, but not an Israeli soldier. Not God's soldier, not God's people.
Heaven or bust. Right?
Yep.
Wow.
There is no back plate.
I think that's a good place to close this out, unless you gentlemen got anything else to add.
I just want to know if Biden thinks Alaska is part of.
I was thinking that too. See, okay, I see way too much. Okay, I just went and watched the movie Oppenheimer. Okay. And there's a scene in there where the people are so happy and they're waving American flags. And I leaned over to the person who was watching the movie with me and I said, I see way too much in movies. And they go, what do you see? And I said, 50 stars. 50 stars on the flag. And she goes, that's right. There were only 48 states back when that bomb blew up. And I go, exactly. And she goes, how do you know? I said, because of the pattern of the stars in the field.
Yeah, it's very distinct.
They were waving 50-star flags. And I'm like, okay, I see way too much. But yeah, really, I have to wonder, does he?
Well, that's how those brain issues work. They stop you from being able to remember short term, and then long term still there. So he remembers when they were still 48.
Perhaps
he's old enough.
Perhaps. And I wonder if he ever had dinner with the senator from Hawaii, because he was a senator at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wonder if he ever had a dinner with the senator from Hawaii.
Probably fell asleep.
Oh yeah, Orano. Probably. Yeah. I don't know. Probably couldn't sit at the table long enough with her. She's a boring gal. Anyhow.
All right. You wanted to close this out.
Yes. So go ahead and, if you wouldn't mind, give us a closing prayer.
All right. Lord, thank you for this time together, Father. Thank you for the insights that we have gleaned and gotten. Father, I just thank you for Josh's steadfastness in looking up all this stuff and staying on top of this so the rest of us can know. Father, thank you for these men that are here today. And Lord, I just thank you for all the viewers that are watching. And Father, let us leave this with our minds open, but yet pondering and digging deeper for the facts. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Because God doesn't stop at the church doors on Sunday. He's out there on the move, right?
Really? Wow, never thought about that.
Yeah.
You mean you can worship on Monday?
And Tuesday and Wednesday?
Yeah. Oh, my.
Even Thursday.
As crazy as it is. Yeah.
And, well, we're right here on a Friday. Now, people will be watching this probably Saturday, Sunday. It could be any day of the week.
There you go.
But, or listening.
Yeah,
but,
8 a.m. tomorrow, you'll be watching this.
Or today for you.
Oh.
Ah, okay.
Or depending on if you're in the Philippines, could be 8 o'clock.
That was Mr. Richard Greenfield.
Oh.
He brought the message this week. You're not going to put his name back on the screen, I take it?
No, you don't have to.
He only gets it once, twice.
I got my 15 minutes of fame.
Be the
Yeah.
mic. There it is. Yeah.
Fancy.
So thank you for joining us. Thank you for bringing that wonderful, wonderful message.
No worries.
anytime we get to hear about the Lord. And next to him, we have my younger brother, much younger brother,
So young.
James.
It's so young.
He's
More.
the baby. Can you tell?
Yeah.
Look at that baby face.
Yeah.
And then across from him, we have the perfect producer, Sterling Metcalf Allen.
Sterling Silver.
It's me. Thanks for having me, Josh.
Thanks for being here, sir. I want to thank you, gentlemen, again, just for being here. This means a lot. This is something that, like I said, episode 75. This is monumental. A lot of podcasts don't make it this far.
Happy 75th.
Yeah, right. And it's just wonderful to have people here and engaged and talking about the Lord and talking about how those values that we've learned from the good 66 books of truth and took them out into all aspects of our life. And with that, I've been your host, Joshua Cummins. We'll see you next time.
Later, Gators.